We'll try to protect you, the government's promise to people struggling to pay their bills this coming winter. The business secretary told ITV News he's worried how poorer people will cope as the cost of living rises.
Lots of people in work, in well-paid jobs, can absorb these fluctuations in price. But it's vulnerable people, elderly people, that I think are really exposed.
Also this lunchtime, what happened to this young teacher found dead on Saturday? Sabina Nessa's school pays tribute as police investigate her murder. A third Russian spy faces charges over the Salisbury Novichok poisonings. And 100 homes destroyed, 1,000 more still at risk from La Palma's volcano.
This is the ITV Lunchtime News with Nina Hossain.
Good afternoon. It was a stark admission by a government minister. The business secretary, Kwasi Kwarteng, has told ITV News he's worried how poorer people will cope this winter, but says the government will do all it can to protect them. With food and energy prices rising and the cut to universal credit coming, it's set to be a bleak one for those on the lowest incomes, and that is before next year's tax rises. With the latest, here's our political reporter, Shihab Khan.
With gas prices rising worldwide, little things like this might start costing a bit more. Some energy companies have already gone bankrupt, like David Carr's supplier. He has now automatically been switched to another company, but his bill has now doubled in price.
We were absolutely dumbstruck. We may have to make a decision, do we eat or do we heat? And both of us have got underlying health conditions, so we do need to have heat in the winter. So that's going to be quite, maybe it's a stark decision we're going to have to make.
There is a price cap in place for consumers, but many, like David, may end up paying more. There are also worries about the availability of gas, but today the business secretary was adamant that the situation was under control.
We don't have an issue with security of supply. We've got a range of gas sources, which will mean that we will have constant supply.
Business Secretary, we know that a cut in universal credit is just round the corner. Are you concerned that there will be plenty of people who might be in a difficult position because of this?
Lots of people in work, in well-paid jobs, can absorb these fluctuations in price. But it's vulnerable people, elderly people, that I think are really exposed. And that's why we've always been very focused on them, particularly with regard to energy prices. That's why we introduced the cap in the first place. That's why we've got the warm home discount.
The price cap means energy companies can't pass on all their extra costs to consumers, but this industry boss says keeping that cap now no longer feels sustainable.
The difference right now between the price cap, which is causing a lot of this damage in the market, and the market price itself, the difference between those two things for the winter is £200. So any company now that picks up the stranded customers from a failed company is looking at making a loss of £200 per customer over the winter. And we are talking millions of customers potentially being in that stranded customer category.
There are also concerns about the supply of carbon dioxide, which is essential for the frozen food industry. The government will be having meetings to deal with that crisis too later today, and will hope that that can be resolved and not cause any further squeeze on people's finances. Shihab Khan, ITV News, Westminster.
So as Shihab was saying, of course, it's not just the gas price crisis that is concerning families and their finances. It's come at a time when many on the lowest incomes are already being squeezed. Led by food and fuel, prices are already on the rise. The CPI inflation rate was at 3.2% in August. Then on the 1st of October, the energy price cap rises by £139 per year for a typical customer on a default tariff. The 6th of October sees the end of the universal credit uplift of £20 per week. All this is before next April's 1.25 percentage point increase in national insurance for health and social care. Well, let's get you some advice then from the money-saving expert, Martin Lewis. Welcome. What should people be doing right now to prepare for the weeks and the months ahead with all these rises?
Well, look, the most important thing to do when it comes to your finance is actually spend time on it. Pretty much most things you spend money on, you always need to ask yourself the question, can I do it cheaper? Can I do it better? And with very many things, whether it's your broadband or your train fares or your mortgage or your savings, or your credit cards, there are often routes to substantially cutting costs. Many people can save hundreds of pounds a year. Now, of course, that will help. For those who've already done all of those measures and are on a budget, the perfect storm that you have described of all those different cuts and rises coming in at exactly the wrong moment is going to be very, very difficult. And what's happening with energy at the moment really is absolutely unprecedented and catastrophic. This morning, we saw the last fixed rate that was cheaper than the new price cap, not the current one, the new price cap on the 1st of October be pulled from the market. So people now have a choice of going onto the price cap, which I've always previously said isn't a good price. It might be a fair price, but it's never been a good price. Going onto the price cap or fixing for surety, but fixing at a higher rate than the price cap, that's unprecedented. And what the government aren't saying is this price cap only lasts for 6 months. And on the 1st of April 2022, we'll get a new price cap. And that is designed based on average wholesale prices between the start of August to January 2022. So we're already a third of the way through that assessment period. And on current run rates, the new price cap next April will be up nearly £200 again. And it would be virtually unprecedented. Prices would have to drop so much between now and the end of January for it not to rise at all. I mean, I pretty much say it is going to rise and it's going to rise substantially.
Martin,
so people really need to be thinking about their energy bills right now.
Prospect for people, isn't it? So if you're in a situation where you're choosing between heating or eating, and we're heating, you know, as the months get colder, what can you do? We've got about 30 seconds left. I know this is really difficult to tell people quickly, but what can you do if you are terrified of what the next few months looks like?
Well, on energy, speak to your energy company. If you're really struggling, they may have funds available to you. Make sure, if you're eligible, you claim the warm home discount. Though that's stuck at £140 a year and has been for 9 years, they have to raise it in the budget. There are so many vulnerable people who will be making that choice between heating and eating. I'm afraid, in a way, I've done all I can. It's over to the House of Parliament. The MPs have to sort this. Vulnerable people are in danger of really struggling with this perfect storm, and we need to protect them, and politicians have to release money to do so.
And that is what they are promising to do. Martin, thank you very much. You say you've done all you can, but you'll have more advice on this critical issue at the moment on the Martin Lewis Money Show, which returns on Thursday here on ITV. And for more details about how the gas crisis may affect your bills, do head to our website. That's itv.com/news. A primary school in southeast London say they have been left devastated by the death of a brilliant teacher who was found dead at the weekend. The body of Sabina Nessa was found near a community centre in Greenwich on Saturday. Police are treating her death as murder. Our reporter Chloe Keedy is in Greenwich. What more do we know, Chloe, about what might have happened to this young teacher?
Well, police say they believe Sabina Nessa was attacked here on Friday night at around 8:30. I've spoken to lots of people here this morning who use this park regularly, and they say it's usually pretty busy at that time with people jogging and walking their dogs. And there's a busy main road that runs down one side of it. And yet it wasn't until nearly 24 hours later on Saturday evening that Sabina Nessa's body was found here close to the local community centre behind me. Sabina was 28. She was a teacher at a primary school about 3 miles away from here. The head teacher at that school today described her as a brilliant teacher, kind, caring and absolutely dedicated to her pupils. And she said they are focused today on supporting them as they try to process this news. Now, forensics teams have been here all morning, and police say they are putting on extra high visibility patrols to try and reassure people in this area. A man in his 40s was arrested on suspicion of murder, but has since been released under investigation. And police are appealing for anyone who was in this area on Friday night who might have any information that could help them to get in touch.
Chloe Keedy, thank you very much. Thank you. A 31-year-old man is being questioned by police over the murder of a woman and 3 children found dead in a house in Derbyshire. The bodies of John Paul Bennett, his sister Lacey Bennett, their mother Terry Harris and Lacey's friend Connie Gent were found on Sunday morning. Today at the school the children all went to, paid tribute to them, Outwood Academy City wrote. We are all devastated at the loss of 3 of our students. The children had bright futures ahead of them. Sadly, none of us will get to see this. Our community is hurting right now, and we will be doing everything we can to support our students, staff and families during this traumatic time. A third Russian spy faces charges of attempted murder over the Salisbury Novichok poisonings. A man, his daughter and a police officer were all seriously ill after they were poisoned in 2018. Let's get the details of today's development from our global security editor, Rohit Khatru. First of all, remind us what happened in 2018 in Salisbury.
Well, this is the third man, the third suspect, charged and named for the first time 3 years into this investigation. It was 2018, the Novichok poisoning in Salisbury, we'll remember it, when a nerve agent was used against Sergei Skripal, a Russian double agent, and against his daughter. And since then, police have been trying to work out precisely what happened. They named these 2 suspects some time ago, but they're now naming the third. We're not sure what is significant about today, why he's being named today. But this name has been out there for a while, talked about in the media for some time. What prospect of this man, like the other 2, being brought into a British court? Almost none. Russia will not extradite this man, just as they won't extradite the other 2. And here are pictures of him arriving and leaving Heathrow Airport that weekend of the attack, around the same time as the other 2 suspects. So what happens now? Well, Priti Patel, the Home Secretary, has been in the House of Commons this lunchtime, and she is saying that the authorities will not give up on this. However, it's really difficult to see what happens next. There is almost no prospect of this man or any of the other 2 being brought to a British court to stand trial for what happened in Salisbury in 2018.
Rohit, thank you very much. Thank you. And in a separate ruling today, the European Court of Human Rights has found that Russia was responsible for the killing of Alexander Litvinenko, the former Russian spy who became a British citizen, was poisoned with radioactive polonium in London in 2006. A public inquiry here concluded the killing was probably approved by President Putin, but Russia has always denied any involvement. To America now, where Boris Johnson will visit the White House later today for his first face-to-face meeting with President Biden. So what can we expect? The Prime Minister has already said a post-Brexit US-UK trade deal is not a priority for the American president right now. Our US correspondent Emma Murphy joins me now from Washington. So what are they likely to discuss later then?
Well, I think there'll be a great hope on the British side that they can really press the Americans for more movement when it comes to climate change ahead of COP26, which of course will be held in Glasgow in November. That seems to be Boris Johnson's key message that he wants to get out there. He is not overly optimistic about getting anywhere with this trade deal, because basically President Biden has just got too much on his plate. He's got a huge infrastructure deal he needs to get through here. And so at the moment, the feeling is from the American delegation that they're just going to deal with the top tier of issues. And to be honest, as the President of the United States, there's quite a big top tier of issues, and the UK trade deal is not on them at this point. But President Biden has offered some kind of concession to the British delegation and indeed Europeans as they come to this meeting by lifting the restrictions on travel that they were so concerned about. So there will be a feeling amongst those travelling from Downing Street that actually this is a situation that is likely to be quite warm. We will also have a meeting between the Prime Minister and Vice President Kamala Harris. But there will be tricky moments. There needs to be a discussion about Afghanistan, and that obviously is an issue that the President and the Prime Minister differ over the way and the manner of the departure from that country.
Emma Murphy, thank you very much. Thank you. My next guest is one of Britain's best actors, but today he's got music on his mind. Christopher Eccleston rose to fame in the brilliant drama Our Friends in the North and later became a very famous time traveller.
I'm the doctor, by the way. What's your name?
Rose.
Nice to meet you, Rose. Run for your life.
His glittering career features in his book, I Love the Bones of You, but the focus of the memoir is his life with his father, Ronnie, who he lost to dementia. He's now supporting a campaign to make music a standard part of dementia care. I'm delighted to say that Christopher Eccleston joins me now. Welcome. Look, music immediately takes us back to a moment, a memory. Presumably that is the same for people who have dementia, is it?
Even more so, my experience with my dad was, to all intents and purposes, we slowly lost him over a 12-year period, but we were always able to reconnect with him if we put on a particular Frank Sinatra DVD live concert that my dad had enjoyed before dementia. And we would sit and watch that together. We would sing together, cry together a little bit, laugh. And he was, to a certain extent, back. And more importantly, the anxiety that I would detect in him shortly before I put that on would disappear, be lifted. He'd be transported by the music.
That must have been great for you to witness him getting that coming back for those moments. But it also must have been comforting, I suppose, for you, because it's so often, isn't it, that the people that are enduring this journey of dementia with the people who are suffering, that they don't get the light moments, but sounds like music gave you that. Frank Sinatra gave you that with your father.
Frank Sinatra and Paul Robeson, yeah. I think, obviously, the person who suffers most is the person with dementia. But if it's somebody you love, to see them in a state of constant anxiety and disorientation devastates you. So if that can be lifted, however momentarily, it's something we should do. And Music for Dementia, what we're suggesting is that people spend 30 minutes a week during World Dementia Month, which is in September, for both the person suffering and also for the carers. Also, when I put that DVD on and sat with my dad, it did give my mum, who was his chief carer, who was with him the whole time, a little break also. She could do things, and she knew that my dad was in safe hands and was transported by the music that he always loved.
Look, music isn't expensive, isn't it? Why isn't it already a standard part of dementia care? It's such a simple thing to be able to, your loved ones know what kind of music you're into, what era, what your favourite artists and bands, that it is already standard. Why do you think that's not happened so far?
I'm not sure. What you will find is people like myself and my mum who have engaged with the care for somebody living with dementia will stumble across it or use their common sense. So the idea of today, what we're talking about here, is to raise awareness globally, really, or nationally, so that it does become an integral part of care, of dementia care. It's something that you find personally because you're looking for resources, and music, all the research confirms that music time and time again is a very positive for people with dementia and Alzheimer's.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's hope that happens very soon then. Christopher Eccleston, thank you very much for joining us as part of this campaign. Thank you.
Thank you.
A man's been arrested in connection with the theft of historic artefacts from Arundel Castle. The stolen items were worth more than £1 million and included gold beads that belonged to Mary, Queen of Scots. Sussex police say a 45-year-old man remains in custody. And 23 people have been arrested after the M25 was blocked for a fifth time by members of the group Insulate Britain. The environmental protesters blocked the motorway in both directions this morning near Woking. Police have since reopened the road. Let's get the latest now on the volcano in the Canary Islands. The lava flow on La Palma has already buried 100 houses and it's threatening 1,000 more. Charlotte Cross on the unstoppable eruption.
Rivers of molten lava stream down the mountainside. Luxury pools now filled with burning rocks, homes and businesses destroyed. More than 5,000 people have been evacuated from their homes in the Spanish island of La Palma, and this is why. The volcano first erupted on Sunday after a week of earthquakes, a warning of what was to come. Luckily, authorities paid attention and it gave them time to evacuate, moving people and animals out of harm's way. There's no way of stopping the flow, and so far, some 260 acres of the island have been buried by lava. At points, it measures as much as 6 metres high and is reaching temperatures of more than 1,000 degrees Celsius, releasing thousands of tons of sulphur dioxide into the air every day. And it's far from over. Several small earthquakes were felt again overnight as new fissures opened up in the mountainside. And scientists say the flows could continue for weeks or even months to come. Charlotte Cross, ITV News.
Finally this lunchtime, how Prince Philip left an enduring mark on the royal family, but it's not what you might think. Prince William has revealed that there are stains on the ceiling created by his grandfather, who used to squirt mustard at the family get-togethers to entertain the children. The unexpected revelation comes in a new documentary looking back on his life.
One of the games he used to enjoy playing was when we used to go for family barbecues. Instead of like a mustard pot, we had a mustard tube, a squeezy mustard tube. And he used to take the lid off and put it in your hands.
It gets you to hold it.
Gets you to hold it in your hands and the lid's off. And I can't remember exactly what he says, but he ends up slamming your hands together.
He used to get in a lot of trouble from my grandmother for covering most of the places we had lunch and things with mustard on the ceiling.
And I actually think the marks are still there.
Yeah, I think so.
You know, he enjoyed those jokes, he enjoyed messing around with the children and kind of being a grandfather.
That's all we've got time for now. Bye-bye.